Good day, level cast learners. Today, we embark on a profound journey into a pivotal, yet often overlooked, chapter of 20th century history, the Korean War. This conflict, a brutal proxy battle fought at the dawn of the Cold War, serves as a stark reminder of the ideological schism that gripped the globe and the devastating human cost of geopolitical maneuvering. Our exploration will transcend a mere recounting of dates and battles. Instead, we will delve into the intricate web of motivations, the profound consequences, and the enduring legacy of a war that indelibly shaped the Korean peninsula and reverberated across the international stage. Prepare to navigate the complex geopolitical landscape of the post-World War II era, where nascent superpowers vied for influence, and the fate of an entire nation hung precariously in the balance. We'll uncover the deep-seated historical grievances, the external pressures, and the internal divisions that ultimately ignited this brutal fratricidal conflict, a war that, to this day, technically remains unresolved. Understanding the Korean War is not merely an academic exercise. It offers invaluable insights into the dynamics of international relations, the perils of ideological confrontation, and the resilience of a people caught in the crossfire. So, let us begin to unravel the threads of this compelling and tragic narrative, illuminating the events that unfolded from 1950 to 1953, and their lasting impact on the world we inhabit. This is more than history, it is a lesson in the delicate balance of power and the enduring human spirit. The genesis of the Korean War lies in the aftermath of World War II, a period marked by the dismantling of colonial empires and the emergence of a bipolar world order dominated by the United States and the Soviet Union. Following Japan's defeat in 1945, Korea, which had been under Japanese colonial rule for 35 years, was arbitrarily divided at the 38th parallel. This division, initially intended as a temporary measure for disarming Japanese forces, quickly solidified into a permanent ideological frontier. The Soviet Union established a communist government in the north, led by Kim Il-sung, while the United States supported a capitalist, anti-communist regime in the south, headed by Syngman Rhee. Both leaders harbored ambitions of unifying the peninsula under their respective systems, escalating tensions dramatically. Border skirmishes became commonplace, a prelude to the larger conflagration. The withdrawal of most American and Soviet troops by 1949 left a dangerous power vacuum, further emboldening both sides. Kim Il-sung, convinced of American disinterest in Korea and bolstered by Soviet military aid and tacit approval from Stalin, meticulously planned an invasion. His belief was that a swift, decisive victory would present a fait accompli to the international community. Meanwhile, Syngman Rhee, though lacking the offensive capabilities of the North, also periodically called for a march north, contributing to the volatile atmosphere. The stage was set for a catastrophic confrontation, fueled by fervent nationalism, ideological zeal, and the miscalculations of global superpowers. The Cold War, still in its nascent stages, was about to experience its first major hot conflict, transforming a regional dispute into an international crisis with far-reaching implications. The failure of diplomatic efforts and the entrenched positions of both Koreas, backed by their respective patrons, made conflict almost inevitable. The simmering tensions finally boiled over on June 25, 1950, when North Korean forces, spearheaded by Soviet-supplied tanks and artillery, launched a full-scale invasion across the 38th parallel. The initial assault caught the South Korean army and its American advisors completely off guard. Within days, North Korean troops had captured Seoul, the capital of South Korea, and rapidly pushed southward, overwhelming the ill-equipped defenders. The United Nations, acting decisively in the absence of a Soviet veto, due to a boycott over Taiwan's UN seat, condemned the invasion and authorized military intervention to repel the aggression. The United States, viewing the invasion as a direct challenge to its containment policy, swiftly committed ground, air, and naval forces, forming the backbone of the UN command. General Douglas MacArthur, the iconic World War II commander, was appointed to lead the multinational force. The UN forces, initially struggling against the North Korean advance, were pushed into a desperate defensive perimeter around the port city of Pusan. However, MacArthur's audacious Incheon landing in September 1950, A daring amphibious operation behind enemy lines, dramatically turned the tide. This brilliant maneuver cut off North Korean supply lines and forced a rapid retreat. UN forces, having liberated Seoul, then pursued the retreating North Koreans across the 38th parallel, aiming to unify the peninsula under democratic rule. As UN troops approached the Yalu River, the border with China, Beijing issued stern warnings. Ignoring these warnings, MacArthur pressed on, leading to China's decisive intervention in October 1950. Hundreds of thousands of Chinese, People's Volunteers, poured across the border, launching massive human wave attacks that caught the UN forces by surprise. The intervention transformed the war, pushing UN troops into a brutal retreat during the harsh Korean winter, and ultimately leading to a protracted stalemate around the original 38th parallel. The entry of China fundamentally altered the character and trajectory of the Korean War, extending it into a grueling war of attrition. The conflict devolved into a brutal stalemate along a fortified line that closely mirrored the 38th parallel, characterized by trench warfare reminiscent of World War I. Both sides launched costly offensives and counter-offensives, resulting in immense casualties but little territorial gain. The strategic objectives shifted from unification to simply holding the line. Meanwhile, political tensions mounted within the UN command. General MacArthur's insistence on expanding the war into China, potentially even using nuclear weapons, brought him into direct conflict with President Truman, who feared a wider global conflict with the Soviet Union. This disagreement ultimately led to MacArthur's controversial dismissal in April 1951. Peace talks, initiated in July 1951, dragged on for 2 excruciating years, primarily bogged down by the contentious issue of prisoner of war repatriation. The fighting continued fiercely even as negotiations proceeded, with both sides seeking to gain leverage at the bargaining table. Finally, after immense diplomatic effort and a change in U.S. presidential leadership, Eisenhower replaced Truman. An armistice agreement was signed on July 27, 1953, at Panmunjom. This agreement established a demilitarized zone, DMZ, along the final battle lines, a buffer zone between North and South Korea. Crucially, the armistice was not a peace treaty, it merely halted the fighting. To this day, the Korean War technically remains unresolved, with North and South Korea still officially at war. The conflict resulted in an estimated 3 million deaths, including a disproportionate number of Korean civilians, and left the peninsula utterly devastated. It solidified the division of Korea, created a permanent military presence in the region, and deeply entrenched the Cold War ideological divide, setting the stage for decades of tension and a deeply militarized border.
That was a truly gripping account of the Korean War.
Indeed, the scale of the conflict was immense.
The division at the 38th parallel seems so arbitrary.
It certainly laid the groundwork for future strife.
Kim Il-sung's invasion was a huge gamble.
And it almost succeeded initially.
MacArthur's Incheon landing was a brilliant move.
It dramatically shifted the war's momentum.
But China's intervention changed everything.
Yes, it prevented a quick UN victory.
The human cost must have been unimaginable.
Millions of lives were tragically lost.
The stalemate sounds incredibly brutal.
Trench warfare is always devastating.
The disagreement between Truman and MacArthur is fascinating.
It highlights the complexities of wartime leadership.
And the armistice wasn't a peace treaty.
That's why the conflict is still technically ongoing.
It created a permanent division.
And a very tense border, even today.
The Korean War truly shaped the Cold War.
It was a defining moment, without doubt.
Thank you for this insightful look.
My pleasure. Keep learning, Levelcasters.
Until next time, Levelcasters, keep exploring, keep expanding your knowledge.